Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. Bob Pompeani with you at 412-575-2600. That's the number to call as we invite you to join the conversation here, as we had a very busy day today. The Pirates were winners 1-0. And, of course, the Penguins tonight concluded their regular season, unfortunately, for the third year in a row. There won't be a postseason. And Aaron Rodgers broke his silence. We're going to welcome in Brian Batko, who does a great job covering the Steelers with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So, Brian, you saw this. We all did. And it was really not a lot of information other than he still hasn't made up his mind. He's dragging this thing out. He's got personal issues he's dealing with, and who knows when or if he'll even sign here. What was your biggest takeaway from Aaron Rodgers today?
Yeah, Bob, I mean, it's hard to really have one because he was kind of so all over the place. And, you know, initially my thoughts are already, I feel like, you know, as a beat writer at the PG and just lifelong Pittsburgher, talks to people in real life about this, it feels like it's maybe 1 in 10 people you talk to or meet, or 1 in 20 even, who are actually excited about the Steelers and the potential of getting Aaron Rodgers here. It seems like more people are sort of resigned to it or possibly even dreading it. I don't know if anything would change for those folks coming out of this interview, because it does sound like a guy who, and to his credit somewhat, is admittedly half-heartedly pursuing another season in the NFL. He's just not sure if you believe him. My major takeaway, though, may have been that, is this just the most convoluted way we've seen yet of a veteran trying to get out of as much work as possible as he can?
Bingo. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, you know, OTAs, minicamp. And you always hear when you talk to former players, Bob, they always say, it's not the Sundays that I got tired of. I miss playing the games. It's the Monday through Saturday type stuff, meetings, practices. In the springtime, in the offseason, that's all that is in the NFL. So maybe he does just want to avoid all of that.
Well, I think if he's doing that, and that's the reason, that's the wrong reason. He's going to a new team with a new OC, with new everything, really. And this could be his swan song, you know. So to me, I would want him there. And I would, if I were them, I would say you have to be here at some point. You can't just leave everything out there and then come in, you know. And he did this with the Jets pretty much. Although I think he signed the day before the draft last year or 2 years ago with the Jets. Is that when it was?
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
So, you know, who knows? Maybe, you know, and because we don't know what's in his mind, Brian, I'm offering this up tonight. It could be that he is going to go to Green Bay, because that's where he spent the bulk of his career, on the draft, and he will walk out as the Steelers are about to pick number 21, and he will introduce the pick after he tells people he signed with the Steelers, because it's at Lambeau Field. Is that far-fetched?
I think it is, and it would be very much antithetical to a lot of his overall message today, which was the people who think I'm making this all about me are wrong, as evidenced by the fact that I have been quiet this entire time, and I'm not leaking things. He seemed a little bit miffed that the Steelers meeting a couple weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, got leaked. So that tells you a little bit about inside the psyche of Aaron Rodgers. He more so put the Jets organization on blast. So all those folks in the New York media had a lot to write and talk about today. From a Steelers perspective, Bob, I mean, I do think maybe one, if you want to call it a takeaway, or one thing we learned was there is a real rapport there between Rodgers and Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator. I think there was some trepidation from fans saying, oh, if Smith butted heads with Russell Wilson over freedom to change plays or what you can check into and out of at the line of scrimmage, what's he going to do when it's Aaron Rodgers in there wanting all the latitude to do whatever he wants? Well, I mean, he had nothing but good things to say about Smith, said they've known each other for a couple years. So perhaps there would be more trust, more confidence in the play caller, in the quarterback there. And I think Mike Tomlin, too, would maybe be somebody who is willing to give Rodgers that leeway.
Yeah, he had great things to say about Mike Tomlin also, all true, I think. And, you know, who knows? Maybe this will end up that way. You see our KDKA.com Connect poll, which is the most likely outcome of the Rodgers saga. Signs with the Steelers right now, 22%. Signs elsewhere, 19%. Retires is now up to over 50%. So that becomes more of an issue here as they move forward. And we'll talk about this as we go to break here, Brian, about the draft coming up now. How would this influence what the Steelers do in the draft? They only have 2 guys right now in their quarterback room at Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. They need more. We'll find out about that. We'll take your phone calls at 412-575-2600. Call us. Air your opinions right here, right now. It's live on KDKA plus the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. All right, this is our tweet of the night, brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. It comes from the U.S. Open. These are names, and you have to consider here for the U.S. Open coming up in June at Oakmont, over 10,200 people have registered to try out, and you can do it as long as you have a handicap. I believe it's 7 or lower, but these are the guys who are doing it. On that list, you'll see Tony Romo. He's done it before. He wants to do it. If you go down further, J.T. Miller, the hockey player from around here, now with the Rangers. You have a lot of interesting names, and they're going to try to qualify, and you'll see who makes it. It's a long, arduous road to even get to that point, but those guys are avid golfers, and we'll see what they can do. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Looking forward to that, Brian.
Why do I not see Bob Pompeani's name on that list?
I'll be busy talking about it. I talk a lot better than I swing right now, but I love golf, and I think it's going to be a fantastic event. So this, real quick before we go to lines, we'll get Don, Chuck, and Jerry and others on here. I want to ask you about what it does to the Steelers' draft philosophy now. If you don't know, and you really don't know what Rodgers is going to do they change what they do in the first round? Is it worth going after a quarterback this year? Do you wait, or do you draft someone maybe later in the draft this year?
I don't think it should impact what they're doing one way or another. I really don't. I mean that because I think with Mason Rudolph back in the fold, I mean, that gives you somebody who can start week 1. Now, would he be one of the 25 best starting quarterbacks in week 1? Arguably not, but at least he's been there, done that. He's got NFL experience. He's comfortable with Pittsburgh and vice versa. So any rookie you do draft, whether it's the first round, I don't think I would reach for one in this particular class, or the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. You got to get somebody younger in the pipeline, somebody you can develop for down the road. Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating, and it all gets underway a week from tonight. We'll know by now who is their, well, you should by now, their 21st overall pick. All right, let's get to the phone lines at 412-575-2600. Begin with Don in Parts Unknown. Hello, Don. How are you?
Hey, Bob. How you doing tonight?
Good. What's going on?
A couple of things about the Pirates. I do not see a team that is in this situation that could really lose a damn thing at this point if they just didn't plug in Henry Davis and leave him go and not make a decision until after the All-Star break. This thing that these guys are, and I also question the guys in the suits that are evaluating these guys, because that's what we're going off of. Oh, can't miss, 5 tools or whatever it is. And then they end up being such a bust. But I mean,
well, I wouldn't rule that yet, Don, with him. I think Henry Davis, and I think you're right. You have to give him time. He had a home run last night, had a couple of hits, and I thought for sure he'd be in the lineup today. I know Joey Bart's healthy, so they're going to play him. It's a day game after a night game. It's still. He had a good night swinging the bat. I would have tried to continue that. But yeah, I'll find ways to get him in the lineup, even if it's a DH. I want to see his bat, Brian. That's what, he's really gotten better defensively. That was the knock on him, but now it's about getting that stick working.
Yeah, well, first of all, I thought calling from Parts Unknown that Don might be sticking up for Aaron Rodgers based on the first segment. But no, yeah, I mean, I think it could be as simple. I didn't see any comments from after the game. But yeah, I mean, getting those catchers, quick turnaround like that from a night game to an early, getaway game. Maybe that's all it was, but yeah, I mean, hey, you can't deny that it was nice to see a little spark from Davis last night, and for the people who are still down on him and wondering that he is going to be one of the biggest busts in recent memory, at least he's got that dinger under his belt now.
Yeah, and I would have ridden that again today because, they're in a situation where they got to try to win games, and they did today, but they only scored 1 run. It was the first swing of the day, second swing of the day, actually, second pitch of the day, and O'Neal Cruz nailed it, 1-0. Great work by Andrew Heaney. Let's go back to the lines. We got Chuck in Uniontown joining us right now. Hello, Chuck.
Good evening, fellas. Thank you. Happy Easter to everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Who's your Stanley Cup pick?
Stanley Cup pick. Okay, I'll give you mine. I think Tampa Bay will emerge from the East, and I think Dallas. Now, the only thing about Dallas, they're very much injured. But they have a really great team, and they have like 9 guys over 20 goals. They're very good at what they do, and they go 3 and 4 lines, plus they have a good goaltender. So I'll go out and say Dallas, Tampa Bay. Who do you like, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been following it too closely other than the Pens. Obviously, we've got Steelers draft coming up and, the never-ending Aaron Rodgers news cycle. But, I'll go with you. I don't think you can go wrong with the Lightning. I'll take them to win it all, Chuck.
And Gensel I think he ended up with 40 goals, or if not, very close. And people thought maybe he was just a product of Sidney Crosby more than anything else. That guy can play, and he showed it this year. And, of course, that's a talented team down there in Tampa as well. So good for him. He's going to be in it. We'll see how far they go. Jerry in Franklin is next. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, guys. Hey, thanks for taking my call. I always
Jerry.
love the show.
Thanks.
I'm one of the guys who likes some of the new sabermetrics, and kind of focused in on the OPS. So I went in and looked at all of the Pirates seasons throughout their history of OPS, and I had a name in there that surprised me. Out of the top 14 seasons, Brian Giles was listed in there 4 times, along with Ralph Kiner.
Yeah.
Dave Parker was not in there, not for any season. Barry Bonds had a season. I was living in North Carolina for a couple of years there when Giles was here. Was he nationally known as great as what it sounds?
You know what? I think, Jerry, because he played in Pittsburgh and they weren't very good, that he didn't get what he needed to get in terms of national recognition. But if you look at what he did here in Pittsburgh, you can argue at the time he was one of the best left-hand hitters in the game of baseball, period. And I mean, the guy was outstanding, hitting 30-plus home runs. I don't know how many years in a row he did it. But, Brian, he was a big part of what they did. So metrics will tell you a lot of things. Dave Parker should be in there if he isn't, and Barry Bonds needs to be in there more than once.
Brian Giles was one of my favorite players growing up for obvious reasons. Sharing a name, that's a big deal to an 8 or 9-year-old like I was at the time. But you're right, Bob. He played on those really bad teams. I think for fans back then, you were going to the ball yard every day or night to cheer for Brian Giles or Jason Kendall and hope you see something great from one of those guys. And Giles did have a lot of memorable moments, not just the hitting, which you just mentioned there, but some of those big catches leaping up against the walls. So, probably an underappreciated player, but also kind of a victim of the era that he played in, at least here in Pittsburgh.
We're going out to Wexford right now. We got Mike on the line. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the Sports Call.
Hey, guys. Hey,
Mike.
I just got to put my 2 cents in on this Aaron Rodgers deal. My grandpap had a saying, I'm going to give you the G-rated version. Crapper, get off the pot. Why can't the Steelers just call him up and tell him, make up your mind?
Well, it was interesting that Art Rooney had said that, they're not going to wait forever, I think was his quote, Brian.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really give you a timeline one way or another. And so, at some point they have to have an answer here. I wonder if there is no deadline, should there be? And if so, what would it be?
Well, Rodgers himself said today that he hasn't been given a deadline by the Steelers. Now, they could tell him one thing and be thinking something completely different in the back of their own minds. That's kind of how it works, and it is a business. But, I'm not entirely sure how they're operating here. I mean, Mike Tomlin, we all kind of laughed when he said it. I guess this would have been at owners' meetings down in West Palm Beach. But he said really the line of demarcation, I think, as he put it, would be at the start of training camp, which – man, that is really kind of stretching the bounds of believability there, that you could say, all right, we're going to get a commitment from our starting quarterback, 2 days before we all report to St. Vincent College in Latrobe, and we're just going to say, hey, nice to meet everybody. Here's the guy. He's learning the playbook, and he's learning all of you guys now out there on the practice field. So I can't imagine that's actually realistic, but the longer this thing goes, it is fair for fans to wonder, where is this going? And we do appreciate the G-rated version of the saying there for sure.
Yeah, the other thing, if he comes through, he has Metcalf, he has Pickens, at least for now, and I don't know how you sit on that topic, but if he's here, those two are dynamic. You have a good tight end, you have guys out of the backfield. I think they have a lot of weapons as long as the protection is there. So this would be a good place for him, especially if he does get protected with those kinds of weapons. And what do you think will happen with George Pickens?
Well, as long as the protection there, that's kind of a big if right now. It's a leap of faith to project that this offensive line is going to take a great leap forward. And if it can't, Rodgers and what he wants to do is going to be severely minimized and impacted. As far as Pickens, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's going to be movement on that front. But I do think with a player as volatile and mercurial as he is, the trade market could be much the same way. Omar Khan could be sitting there on draft day, start getting some calls, and boom, next thing you know, things are happening. So I tend to think that they're fine with rolling the ball out there and seeing how it goes with those two monsters on opposite sides of the field. But I also think a big reason for bringing in DK Metcalf was the peace of mind that you aren't necessarily going to have to be held hostage by George Pickens in contract negotiations. And you've got a great option if you end up moving on from him.
We're due for a break. We'll take it right now at 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, KDKA Plus 93.7 The Fan. Brian, let's go back to the lines. We have John in Cranberry who joins us right now. Hello, John.
Hey, Bob and Brian, I'll make it quick. 3 years in a row now for no playoffs for the Penguins. If you're Kyle Dubas, you and Brian, what are your top priorities going into the offseason? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, John. I would say solidify goaltending, whatever that looks like. Jari has put himself in a position where maybe they can move on from him. He's played well over the last couple of weeks since his recall. But they got to figure that out, and they got to believe whoever it is going to be that. Do they have the trust in a young kid like Miroshov or Blomqvist? I'm not sure if they do. And then, just get younger. Hopefully they can figure out guys in their system. They have Koivunen up. They have McGroarty up. Tomasino's only 23. Brian, they have some kids, but they need more, and they need to react because this is getting toward the end of this era.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the goalie situation, hard to disagree with that. But then, the other one that I'll point out that kind of goes hand in hand with your thinking there, Bob, is maybe try to get 125 on the dollar for somebody like Ricard Raquel and try to speed up this rebuild if you can. Yeah,
and then, they need some more physical and stay-at-home defensemen, those kinds of players. They have enough puck movers. They need people who are going to do some stuff in front of the net because as the goaltending, even though it did not do what it was supposed to do, they were compromised also by some bad defensive play in front of them. And that's not just goaltenders, that's just an overall defensive mindset. I think too many times you saw, odd man breaks, shorthanded breaks, all these things, the breakdowns kill you, especially with goaltenders.
Yeah, and hey, find a way to continue to build this thing around Sidney Crosby. At least the last game was, another glimmer of hope to some extent with the way he played.
How about him at age 37, 91 points, 33 goals, looking as he did 10 years ago, which is great. He keeps on keeping on, so they need to take advantage of him being here and playing at that level. Brian, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. Happy Easter to you, and we'll see you down the road here, whether it's on the Showdown or this show. Thanks.
Yep, happy Easter, Bob. Happy Easter, everybody called in. Thank you.
All right, that's Brian Batko of the Post-Gazette. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thank you for joining us, and I do wish all of you a very happy Easter weekend. Join us tonight at 11 on KDKA-TV. See you then.